Okay, welcome everyone to the Zones 33 and 34 Governor's Chain Quarterly Directors All Call. Director Stephanie Urchik is on the phone with us today, and she'll be part of the program with me, and also Director-elect Peter Kyle is on the phone today. I welcome each and every one of you. Looks like now we're up to about 80 some odd people on the call. That's a great turnout. Appreciate you giving us all your time. About 5 items maybe that we have things to talk to you about. We're going to talk about a strategic plan update. Stephanie's going to be talking about that. We're going to talk about the Million Meal Challenge for a few minutes within our 2 zones and where we are on that. A TRF update as of year end. An update on the summit, some information that you need to know and you need to be preparing for other than your GETS training for the upcoming summit in Atlanta in November. Then we'll be talking about highlights from the board meeting that we just had in late June in Hamburg. And the final thing is we have a few announcements to make about some new appointments within our zones. So with that, I say welcome to everyone. We're glad you're here. And I'll turn the microphone over to Stephanie to talk about our strategic plan. And Stephanie has been the chairperson of the strategic plan committee for some time now and is more integrated into that process than anybody on the entire planet of Rotary. So Stephanie, welcome.
All right, thanks, David. Before I do that, I just want to say hello to all of you DGs and congratulations, 17 days in, and I think you're all still standing. So bravo, and I hope you're having a good time with this. There are a couple of things that I wanted to share with you about the strategic plan that are important for you to know because you're going to get questions from your club. First and foremost, the strategic plan is a corporate plan. It was developed with our organization in mind. So the initiatives and priorities that are forthcoming are meant to move Rotary International forward. But you'll start to see more and more information appear. It will be showing up in the Rotarian, in our social media sites, certainly at our institutes and other events. So what you need to know is that clubs should
join the meeting.
Look at the 4 priorities and translate that for how it will make sense at the club level. And the 4 priorities are very broad, but they make sense to the life of a Rotary Club. One is to expand our reach, and that pretty much means looking at ways that we can help people experience the magic of Rotary. Sometimes that's in a legacy club, and sometimes that will be in other formats. Satellite clubs, passport clubs, e-clubs, all other kinds of ways to engage with the magic of Rotary. You may have heard that we have an initiative about to roll out where we will have a non-club-based participant model. We're going to be testing that in Houston and in Chicago to see how that may play out into the world. The second priority has to do with engaging Rotarians. You know, we spend a lot of time getting them into our organization. How do we keep them there? And this has a lot to do with revitalizing our clubs. You know, I spent some time this week talking to a district in the old Zone 29, having some issues with clubs that, you know, still don't have diversity. And rather than saying, let's get rid of those clubs, the message is, let's revitalize those clubs. Let's educate them and help them understand how diversity helps make us stronger. The third one is impact. We have to get better at measuring our impact, both at the RI level as well as at our club level. You know, we're really good at counting things. Last year when 2 years ago when Ian Risley was president, he asked us all to plant trees. Well, yeah, we could all count how many members we had, and we went out and planted trees. But the question remains, so what? What did it do? Now, there's a reason in polio why Bill and Melinda Gates jumped on board and recognized Rotary as a leader. It's because that's a program where we have consistently been able to talk about the impact of our work, how much money will be saved when the disease is gone, how many children won't be affected. So we need to get better at measuring impact across the board. And finally, the fourth one is increasing our ability to adapt. We need to flatten our organization. We need to look at governance and just make it easier for this big machine to move. Keep in mind that Rotary International is an international organization. So the reason that there won't be a cookbook or a cookie cutter approach is because these things won't work the same in every place in the Rotary world. We have 200 different Rotary countries, we have different languages, regions, cultures, customs. So every area has to take a look at that plan, the corporate plan, and make sense for it based on where you are. You know yourselves that sometimes one district that's right next to another district does things completely different. So the idea is to translate it and to help it make sense. So stay tuned. You'll see more information coming out on the website and in social media. And if you have any questions, I hope you'll direct them to me. Okay, David, thank you. It's back to you for the Million Meal Update. David, you need to unmute yourself.
Oh, that was really good. I was trying to be respectful of everyone and forgot to turn it back on. So yes, thank you, Stephanie, for both the update on the strategic plan and for reminding me I was on mute because everyone else was. Spend a few minutes talking with you. Peter, Stephanie, myself, we are all very excited about where we are at this point. We have close to 150 clubs around the two zones that have signed up through the website for contacts from food banks. And we have had a lot of good positive response all over both zones. I've been to a number of meal packings. I've seen a lot more on Facebook being posted. We had one area down in Florida that I know of back in a few months ago did 1 million meals in one weekend. It's not been uncommon for us to see district conferences doing 20, 30, 40, even 50 or more thousand meals at a district conference. So that is the good news. The bad news is we desperately need your help getting the information out to the clubs to log this material that they're doing in Rotary Club Central. Also at the website, under the 10 Million Meal tab, there is a toolkit. And in that toolkit, it tells you everything that you need to know about how to enter the stuff in the 10 Million Meal Challenge in your Rotary Club Central accomplishments. And we really need to get that information to the clubs. If any of you want me to send an explanatory email out to your presidents just in your district, I have that capability. Certainly not trying to usurp you, but I'm seeing several million meals that we have done on Facebook, and they're not showing up in Rotary Club Central. And I have no way to get those in there. Some of them it's districts, some of it's clubs. I can send out emails to you all about it again, and then you can feel free to send those to your clubs. But that is our big situation. I won't say a problem, but our big situation just now is getting all those activities. Everything is monetized inside that toolbox. If you go out and work an hour at a food bank, or if you package meals, that's a certain number of meals. Hour of food, a pound of food, everything is monetized. And then when you go into Rotary Club Central, it's just a matter of entering it in like any other community service or club service your clubs would do, except in the identifier box, just put 10 million or something similar to that so that we can pick it up. But we are very excited about where we are to now. And I'm getting a lot of good feedback from the Feed America food banks all across the Southeast of where they're connecting up with your clubs as they have logged on to it. So help us with that when you're put it in your monthly newsletter, if you will, if you're doing one, or if you're doing monthly videos for your troops. Any way you can help us get that information out, because we're hitting the far end of the summer now, and we have a lot more accomplished than we have in there now. With that, I'll turn back to you, Stephanie, for an update on the Rotary Foundation.
Okay, thanks. Director David sent out yesterday or the day before some information about the end-of-year figures for the Rotary Foundation contributions from our zones. I hope you had a chance to take a look at them. Absolutely amazing. I think many of you know that I served as a trustee in 2012 to 14, and the Rotary Foundation is extremely important to me. Well, the good news is Zone 34, in the annual fund, you ranked 4th in the world. In the Polio Plus Fund, 2nd in the world. In total giving, ranked 3rd in the world. In Zone 33, annual fund, you're 3rd in the world. Polio Plus, 6th in the world. And total giving, 4th in the world. I think that's absolutely amazing for our 2 zones to have such a stellar record. And thanks to all of you who served as DGEs in the Rotary 1819 year, because I'm sure that you were helping to inspire giving from donors in our area. We also want to congratulate all the district foundation chairs, as well as the immediate past district governors in zones 33 and 34. Great job, keep it up. There's so much magic happening in the world because of our support of the Rotary Foundation. David, back to you for Summit. And unmute yourself too.
My unmute button goes away. I apologize and I forget about it. How many of you, raise your hand if you did, how many of you had a good time in Norfolk last year? We're going to top that in Atlanta this coming year, so raise your other hand now. We're going to have a good time. We're going to have a Saturday is going to be a beach bash. I believe that even the flamingo class is going to have flamingos around, but we're going to have a big time in Atlanta. A lot of positive things for you to look forward to. We're going to continue with the Solving Hunger Challenge, and we're going to add in another activity that is close to a lot of our hearts, and that is literacy. Friday will be about literacy. Saturday will be about solving hunger. And Sunday's going to be a little bit different. We're not going to give you that dull and boring plenary session that you've had for 403 years. It's going to be a mix-up, going to have a big meal for breakfast, and then after a little hoopah, send you home. And hopefully you'll be happy after it's over. We think you will. There are a couple of things that Stephanie and I felt like we needed to talk about. One of them is the emerging leaders. We are having the Emerging Leader Summit again in Atlanta. That will continue. And I have probably been more busy being a director in the boardroom than in the field lately to not have followed up with you good enough with this, but we will send an email out. But it's incumbent upon the district governor to nominate, quote unquote, emerging leaders. They don't get to make that choice whether they come or not. It's got to be through the district governor. And you can have anybody you want, but they need to come through you. And you want to put that out. Sitting governors, you want to put that out to your clubs if you haven't done that already, and tell them that they need to come to you. And because we don't know whether an emerging leader is an emerging leader or not. Anybody can go register, but we need them vetted through the district governor to make sure that the district governor and the chain within your district feel like it's somebody that you want to make that investment in, even if they've paid for it themselves. Simple process, send out an email to your clubs, bannering it, talking about it. If you need information about what it is, text me, email me, whatever. And the emerging leaders should come in on Thursday. They'll be Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, just like everybody else. And their registration fee is the same as a past district governor. It's not a higher rate because they will be coming at the same time. Each of you need to register and register for your hotel room as soon as possible. Rooms are going fast. We had over 120 more people in Norfolk than was the normal, so we had to go into an overflow hotel. We have accounted for some growth this year but in Atlanta. But if we run out of rooms, we've got to get into a backup. And I sure don't, Stephanie and I and Peter sure don't want any of you folks in the major leadership chain staying in an overflow hotel. I do understand that district finances are involved in some of this, but we are into your budget now, and hopefully that you can go ahead and make those and get those out of the way for us. When you go in to make the reservation, if you have not already done so, where it says current position, when it asks you for your current position, it's talking about your Rotary position, not your vocation or your walk of life. So, and we are cleaning those up as we go, and we will make another pass before it's over, but save us a little work there if you can on that. Within the last few days, you should have received an email from the Morrises relative to the draft of the zone directory. In that email, there was a link to the directory. I encourage you, it is in draft form, but just in a couple of 3 days, it's going to print. So if you have inaccurate information in that DB a week from now, that's what's going to show up in the directory. And I encourage you, even if you think it's correct, take a couple of minutes, go to that DB, and if the information is not correct, correct it in there and send an email to Phil and Karen Morris that you have made changes to it, and then they'll redump your record into the thing. The June board meeting is usually a lot more pomp and circumstance than business, because it's the change of the gavel, the old president going out, the new president coming in, and then half of the board changes over at that point in time. However, there were a fair amount of things that were done at the board meeting this past month, and I'm going to turn it back to Stephanie to talk a little bit about that. Stephanie?
Thanks, David. Director David's right. You know, the board meetings are held typically 4 times a year, and the meeting that is held in conjunction with the International Convention is considered the last meeting, the year-end meeting. So there's a lot of ceremony. You know, Director David was very gracious in welcoming me to the board. You know, Peter will find that out next year. So there's a lot of ceremony. However, having said that, the things that did happen, it was the David Stovall board meeting, because, all right, I know all of you are muted, but I want you to hit yip and holler. David Stovall was elected as treasurer of Rotary International for 2019-20. So, yay, woohoo! In addition to that, Yinka Babaloba from Africa was elected as the vice president. So those were the 2 officers. Also, there was a task force formed for the Elevate Rotaract initiative. And that's also going to be chaired by David Stovall. So you may recall that in April, when the COL debated this proposal, what it did, Elevate Rotaract, it actually moved Rotaract from being a program of RI to being a partner with RI. But there's still a lot of work that has to be done, and that's what David and his task force will be doing, looking at the ins and outs of what that means. You know, will Rotaract members pay dues? You know, how will they be structured? What rights will they have? So the task force has a lot of work to do, but it's an exciting time because Rotaract is really close to us, and they know Rotary really well. And we hope that, you know, they can, as Rotaract clubs, be a source of membership for us. The other thing that happened, the board approved an annual budget. We have approximately $112 million, and that includes a surplus of $3.3 million. And again, Treasurer Stovall will be overseeing our budget and keeping us on track. So those were the 3 major elements of the board meeting. And with that, I will ask David to talk about some recent appointments.
Thanks, Stephanie. And before I do that, responding to a couple of questions that have come to me, and if you have questions about the things that we have talked about up until this point, go ahead and find the chat button. I'm only seeing 30 people on the screen, so I may not see you if you're waving, but send me a message if you have questions. The first question is about trying to throw me off now, huh? The first question was about the instructions in the toolbox that weren't quite clear on how clubs enter their activity into Rotary Club Central. I don't care as long as it gets entered. I would recommend that a club do it at each activity. That way we don't sit here for 10 months knowing that a club has done 1 million meal hours and they've not dropped anything in, and it comes in at the last minute when they're doing 10,000 meals a month or 100,000 meals a month, so to speak. It would be better if every time your clubs did an activity that they go ahead and put it in Rotary Club Central as they go, rather than sandbagging, if you will, till the end of the year. That would be the best way. And we'll go in and try to clean that up in the toolbox so that makes some more sense. There's also a question about the status of the 501c3 and the 501c4 that comes under the auspices of the current RI. There is no update since the Council on Legislation. The Council on Legislation voted overwhelmingly to pursue it. We have an organization, Rotary Holdings, that has been approved as a 501c3. We are waiting on another ruling from Rotary International about our clubs moving over and taking a 501c4 status in the new organization. So we're waiting on one IRS response before we move forward with having that completed. Who knows when it will come? The 501c3 initial ruling approval came very soon, came very early. With the situation with a former chair of the Rotary Foundation filing his own documents with the IRS, we don't know if that will have any or no or major impact on the final situation, whether we will be ultimately able to do the merger or not. The whole concept from the Council on Legislation was if it were approved, we would be ready and we wouldn't have to wait 3 years to do it. So that's where we stand on that. Any other questions that anyone would have? Okay, as Stephanie mentioned, there are a few pending appointments that we would like to talk about. First two are public now. They have been announced. Zone 33 and 34 will have 2 members on the International Assembly Training Cadre this coming year in January. They will be repeat offenders, not their first rodeo. Mary Burge from up in Pennsylvania and Harej Ramdanchan from Jamaica will be going back for their second year. So you governors-elect that are going, you got 2 seasoned pros that'll be there. And there are only a couple of dozen of those people with 34 zones. Not everyone gets one, and a lot of folks don't get one, and we're very honored that once again we have 2 in the zone. Within zones 33 and 34, we have 3 coordinators that will be serving, that are serving their 3rd year this year. Up in zone 33, Mike Conrad is serving as your EMGA, and Chuck Arneson from Virginia will be up in the Williamsburg area, will be coming in next year, next Rotary year, as the new EMGA for zone 33. Over in zone 34, Ivan Johnson is completing his 3rd year as your regional Rotary Foundation coordinator. And Roger Champion from the Tallahassee area, District 6940, will begin a term as your regional foundation coordinator in Florida beginning next July 1. Over in also in Zone 34, Sheila Bethel from the Islands is serving her third year as the Rotary Public Information Coordinator, and Marshall Butler from Jacksonville will be starting a term there as the coordinator for Zone 34 in the RPIC arena. That I'll turn to Peter and ask Director-elect Peter if you have anything you'd like to share with us this afternoon.
Thanks, David, and I'm delighted to be part of this team. I'm excited about the year ahead. As a director nominee, nothing much seemed to happen. I kept on waiting for all sorts of assignments and but it was rather slow. But as of 17 days ago, the 1st of July, and I moved up from director nominee to director-elect, the pace has quickened considerably, and there are all sorts of training seminars and other items on my to-do list. So it's the reality is hitting home, and I'm thrilled. I would like to join with Stephanie and David in congratulating everybody on the amazing results of the foundation and polio giving. I think for the last 4 or 5 years, both our zones have been in the top 3 or 4 or 5 worldwide, which is an incredible achievement. So all credit to those of you who are involved. Keep up the good work. We still have a way to go with polio, but very impressive results to date. I'm beginning to plan my next 9 or 10 months. I'm keen to get to meet as many of the DGs, DGEs, and DGNs as I can. I'll be attending some of the PETs next March. Unfortunately, some of the PETs are all on the same weekend. March the 5th to March the 7th is Florida PETs, Carolina PETs, Chesapeake PETs. Not quite sure how I'm going to fit in, whether there are any planes that fly from Washington to Greensboro to Orlando and back in 36 hours, but I'm going to do my best to try and attend all 3. And I'm keen to attend other PETs as well as another zone events. So as you work on your own plans, please feel contact me if there's a way that I can help, if there's a way that I can attend a meeting and get to know you and get to know the districts. I'm very keen to do so. So that's all I really wanted to say. I'm happy to answer any questions. I'm delighted to be working with Stephanie and David. Couldn't wish for 2 better mentors. And it's a great team, and I hope that will continue for the next couple of years.
Thank you. Thank you, Peter. And Stephanie, do you have some comments in closing?
I just posted my comment. Just want to thank everybody for everything you're doing in your community and around the world. You guys are awesome, and call on us if we can help in any way. I look forward to seeing you all somewhere in the Rotary neighborhood.
And I get the final congratulations, going back to what both of them have said. These 2 zones have been phenomenal for a good number of years in terms of the Rotary Foundation, in terms of what you're doing in membership. You're going to see a lot of new things coming down the pike over the next 6 months, 12 months to 5 years about membership. New ways to do things, new avenues to go down, new ways of engagement, and it is all about engagement. Stephanie talked about, Peter reinforced the numbers in the Rotary Foundation. You hit a new level this year. For the last 10 years probably that I've been involved as either an RRSC or a zone trainer, these 2 zones have been strong, but you hit a new level in giving this year. And so it's just up and up from here. The other part of that is membership, and in the area of membership, these paired zones are the only paired zones in the United States that have shown consistent, at least minor, growth in membership and retention. Whereas other areas are losing, we're holding our own, and most years we are gaining a few. Final numbers, I don't believe have quite come out yet. 33 will show some small loss. 34 possibly could still have a gain. We don't know. But at least we have held our own. When I said small loss, I meant very small loss as opposed to the thousands that we're seeing in other places in this country. Thank you all for, in polio
David, can I
now.
ask a question? Can I ask one question before you go?
Sure.
This is Cindy, COC, District 6980. On the emerging leaders, can it be should we be looking for new people who have never been before?
That's a very good question, and it's totally the governor's call. However, the directors would recommend that you send someone new that represents someone that you would have that would be future leadership in your district. It won't be the same exact program content, but the experience will be the same. So if you have people in your district, I would recommend, and I think Stephanie and Peter would agree, send new people. The more young, fresh, new blood, young in terms of Rotary, young in terms of age, I don't care. But young blood that can get the exposure would be the best.
Thank you.
The last thing I want to say is in polio now. I don't know if you've seen the numbers, seen the press. We are up to 51 cases this year. We're having political issues in the two countries that are left, but we're not giving up. I don't think the number has been announced yet what we did, where we met our goal, but if we didn't, we were very close this year to our goal for the Bill and Melinda Gates match. You should be hearing that from the EPNC people very soon. But we're not giving up the ship. We cannot turn back the ship. Polio is only a flight away, and we've got to stay with this. With that, on behalf of Stephanie and Peter and I, all 70 of you that stayed on the call, we appreciate you being here. The three of us are here. If you need anything, text us, WhatsApp, call, email, whatever. We're part of your support mechanism. And thank you for all that you're doing this year as you connect the world. Y'all have a good day.